In January 2004, a new head arrived and changes began taking place in North Chapel Primary School, West Sussex. By empowering pupils and giving them a strong voice, Jane Kent and her staff have put citizenship at the heart of the school ethos.
We completely threw out the whole curriculum. We threw out the cue, quite literally, into a skip.
In this programme, we're going to explore 4 aspects of North Chapel's approach to citizenship: independent learning, philosophy for children, the school councils and peer coaching.
Oh, that's nice.
We devised a curriculum model. It hinges around our key skills, which are problem solving, thinking and independence. And it also hinges around citizenship. You have to have the key skills of problem solving and independence and thinking to be able to access the skills and knowledge. You also have to have high self-esteem, you have to be a risk taker, you have to be trusting of other people, the citizenship aspects, to enable you to use the key skills to facilitate the learning areas.
Exactly.
Essentially, everything is part of everything else, with the key skills and the citizenship, the PSHCE, as the most important components of it.
Like all the other fish in the sea.
From the start of every day, children are put in charge of their own learning. After signing themselves in on the register, a small whiteboard, every day starts with independent learning.
Cooking for you to do in a moment.
And we also introduced the independent learning time, and that's the first 50 minutes of the morning. The children are allowed to choose their own activities. They are accountable for what they choose to do. They do have to explain, they have to reflect on their learning and say how it's going to impact on later learning as well, whether they're consolidating work from the previous week or whether they're building on something.
For the last few weeks, Class 3 have been learning about the Romans. In independent learning time, a group of girls have been exploring Roman cooking through role play.
The Roman role play area over there, that was set up by the children, so they looked at pictures, they looked in books to find out what a Roman kitchen would have looked like. And then they're doing some Roman cookery over there, and they're totally independent. They're learning because they want to learn and because it's relevant to where they're at the moment.
Learning about the Romans, and we're learning about what the food they make. What we've learned today is how to make rabbit stew.
Yeah, but I was thinking more of the paper.
While independent learning is led by the children, guidance from staff ensures the demands of the national curriculum are met.
We're very careful about how we plan for the independent learning. So there are a whole host of activities set out for the children in reception and year 1, and they are allowed to get any resources that they want and pursue whatever learning that they want. But there is always at least one adult-led activity. The learning objectives already planned for, which have been planned for in collaboration with the children. By the time we move to Class 3, all 5 of the activities are carefully chosen by the teacher. But they're cleverly set out, so when the children arrive in the morning, it looks like there's nothing in the classroom.
We're making Roman cooking pan. We're making holes in, and then we're putting all the marzipan in, because we get to do all our own activities.
Taking ownership of your own learning gives it a vital purpose. And whether you are 4 or whether you are 84, having a purpose for learning is what enables you to learn. And so if learning is purposeful and you have ownership of it, as an individual, you become more able, more intelligent, whatever you want to call it, you become a more capable person in society.
A key element of citizenship at North Chapel is philosophy, giving children space to develop their thinking skills.
When we've had a question, someone has to give reasoning for why they've asked a question. So say if someone said, why is there a picture of a gorilla on his car? You'd have to show where it is and why you've asked that.
And we've got to think of the questions that are good questions for us to answer, so not like, was it from a funeral, and kind of said yes. And so we've got to give real reasons. So was it from a funeral? And then Connor said, yes, I think it was from a funeral because, and then his reason.
We introduced philosophy for children again as from last September, and each class tries to do at least 2 philosophical inquiries a half term, from reception through to Y5.
We're going to be using as our stimulus today a piece of music, so I'm going to ask Miss Critchlow to play our piece of music, and I want you to listen to it. You might want to close your eyes and be thinking at the moment in your heads of questions that this piece of music makes you think about.
You start with a stimulus. It could be a piece of music, a book, a piece of text, picture, absolutely anything. Present it to the children, give them the opportunity to think about it, look at it, talk to each other about it, and then they come up with a list of questions that they want to ask. Once they've chosen a question to discuss and philosophise about, away goes the discussion.
Start with you, Jade. What's your question?
Were they praying to God?
Were they praying to God? I think that's a nice question. Claudia, what's your question?
Were they singing because they were sad?
Okay, so were they praying to God?
The adult is there very much as a facilitator, just to move the discussion, not to impinge on it, not to choose questions, but to take the children along the philosophical debate.
Questions that you've asked children are: were they praying to God? Were they singing because they were sad? Were they singing because someone was born? Was it a christening?
Philosophy for children, and philosophy in itself, has very close links with citizenship, because you have to reason. So a very important part of the philosophical debate is to say, I agree with Jack because, and then you put your opinion.
Can we have a little think now, and let's highlight the questions that we think are good philosophical questions, questions that you think will be good to talk about rather than it just being a one-word answer. So can anybody spot a nice philosophical question on the board?
Were they praying to God?
Were they praying to God? And can you explain why you think that's a good philosophical question?
What children learn to do, eventually, we hope, and what we as adults learn to do, is to be objective about the argument that's going on or the debate that's going on. And so therefore you can still treat a person with respect, you can still trust them, you can still be friends with them, even if you disagree with their opinion, because it's their opinion that you're disagreeing with, not the person. And through all of that, of course, we believe that that's how we learn to treat people respectfully and with courtesy, and that we learn to tolerate different people's viewpoints and different people's opinions.
Welcome to Class Council. There are 2 things on our agenda today.
The school council was already here when I arrived, but nobody really understood how a school council ran, and it wasn't being used to its full potential. What if we did not have school council or class council? The other thing that I was particularly concerned about was the lack of pupil voice. The teachers had been choosing which children were on the school council. The children didn't know about the executive committees, and they didn't know how powerful their voice could be. They didn't understand how important their voice was, and that actually we can't run a school, we can't manage their learning unless they're fully involved in it themselves.
Since changes began taking place at North Chapel, the school and class councils have been given the ability to make actual changes within the school, from choosing their reward system to designing their play equipment and reorganising their classrooms.
Class 1 want to know what the toy swap's all about. Taking a toy which you don't play with much, and then you swap it with something you like for the weekend.
We're thinking of doing it on Friday, so the people who swapped would have the toys for the weekend. Okay?
Does that make sense, Sally? You happy now with what the toy swap's about?
If you didn't have a very good voice with the school, you wouldn't be able to answer some of school council and class council's questions and give some of your reasons. You should always have your say, but you shouldn't have. You should always let other people have their say as well.
Welcome to Class Council. There are 2 things on our agenda today. 1, feedback from school council. 2, what we're going to do with the class, improvement on the classroom. Okay, anyone got any ideas?
We could change tables around because people get squashed in their usual tables.
Patrick.
I think we could decorate the cloakroom a bit because it looks like toilets, not really a cloakroom.
Okay, dismissed.
What are you drawing?
I think it's orange.
You drawing an orange?
What do I know?
Where's orange? There it is. There.
It's all very well having rights, it's all very well knowing what you are entitled to, and it's all very well taking advantage of what's available for you. But with those rights come huge responsibilities, and an individual has to be prepared to give back to the community and to the society. Now here at North Chapel, one of the ways in which the children give back is that peer coaching. They have a great sense of family here. The Year 5s, the Year 4s feel very responsible for the reception in Year 1s.
Every pupil in Year 4 and 5 takes responsibility for coaching pupils at the bottom of the school. Sam is teaching some younger children how to use paint software.
I enjoy about actually doing peer coaching. I just like doing it.
Every classroom person is a coach.
I do get teached by them what they're saying, and I get they get teached by me what I'm saying. It is quite hard work for if somebody don't want to do it anymore. That's quite hard work.
In every classroom, staff play an active role, taking notes about peer coaching while the children work.
What did you think went well on there, on the sheet? The shading.
I'm writing a whole variety of things, whether it's physical development and learning, whether it's PSHCE, if it's the coaching skills, whether it's understanding of what, in this case, the games that they'd actually chosen the children for. Billy had a phenomenal understanding of the piranha game, which is where you have to balance fish onto a hat, and then you can balance them onto their tails and they all just slide off if you're not careful. But she had a very good understanding of the fact that that was to do with fine motor skills, the twisting of the wrist, the pinching of the fingers was all to do with handwriting, and that's particularly why she'd chosen that game for that particular boy, one of our reception children. And although if we don't note those things down and we don't put them in their profile folders, those moments are lost forever, and it builds a very, very good profile of each child.
Citizenship and peer skills are actually they're a natural body together. The things they do in peer coaching, they don't really think of citizenship, it's just a natural progression between the two.
I just can't imagine having a curriculum running in a school that doesn't involve the children's opinions and making children responsible for their own actions by giving them space. You have to give children space to make mistakes, you have to give them the space and the opportunity to make inappropriate decisions. Unless children are involved in that, they don't fail. And if you don't ever fail, you don't build a resilience, you don't build a strength, you don't become a risk taker. And all those things are vital in the learning process. And so, to me, citizenship is not a matter of choice, it's not a discrete subject area, it's part and parcel of growing up.